but now it's live. I just got it.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it's a 2-minute, 45-second delay.
Okay, we got it. Yeah, we're live.
Oh, yeah, here we go.
There we go. All right. Pause.
Holy shit. Okay, well, welcome to this live stream. Sorry it took so long. Trying out Lightstream, and it's not being cooperative. It's not doing exactly what I tell it to do. So apologize for everybody that's been waiting. And I apologize to my guests because at least you have something funny to say about me on Twitter later, right? So anyways, welcome. This is going to be around roughly an hour-long chat, and I've got some great guests on here. I've got Macho Dan and Mutt-Man, and I've got Cal Jameson, and I've got Cody. Cody is not on camera. Cody's not on camera, so you won't see his pretty face. So, but we're going to be talking about the indie comics, or at least the very small press stuff. What happened in 2019. We're going to talk about their Indiegogo campaigns, their crowdfunding campaigns, what went right, what went wrong. And then we're also going to touch on 2020, what's in store for them, what their plans are, if it's just fulfillment or if they got another project or whatever. And we'll go from there, and we'll take questions from you guys. So I think I introduced them all, but I'm going to go around and let them introduce themselves, and we'll go from there. So, Macho, you want to start?
Sure. I am Macho Dan on Twitter, and I am the writer for H.I.R.O Blood Patriots, and just jumped in with both feet to this indie comic scene, and I appreciate all the love and support, guys.
All right.
Next tag. I'll tag Cal next.
Okay.
I don't want to hear about Mutt right now.
Hey, I'm Cal, and I'm the creator, writer of Shinobi Sasquatch, and not much else you need to know about me at this point. So I'll go down to, on my screen at least, Mutt. I'm tagging Mutt.
All right. I am the Mutt-Man. I am the artist, co-creator, and better half of the H.I.R.O team. I'll be chiming in with what I know, so it should be pretty good. Go ahead, Cody.
Well, I'm hoping you guys can hear me.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, it should. I'm going to go ahead and say I'm Cody from Ironverse Comics, creator of Jack Irons and Steel Cowboy. Finally finished a campaign that's been going since 2018, just this last month, and got a lot of experience there, so hopefully we'll be able to mine some of it, and hopefully I won't jaw on too long to bore folks.
Nope, nothing boring. This is a big learning experience, especially for me, since my last Indiegogo campaign attempt, failed, if you guys didn't already know that. So anyways, this is pretty much what I wanted to be. Just talk about those things, talk about your projects, talk about the Indiegogo campaign, maybe suggestions on what you learned doing them, and what you think went right and what you think went wrong with them. So, but in general, how do you guys feel about the this little indie comic industry? I guess you'd call it like a niche market. Of course, it's always been niche, even back in the 60s and 70s and stuff. But you think it's getting stronger? You think it's getting weaker? Do you think that crowdfunding is the future of indie comics? Do you think that the goal should still be to try to get into local comic book shops and go the more traditional distributor route? Just things of that nature. And I'll just let you guys chime in and just talk, just talk at your leisure.
Before everyone else goes, I'm going to grab a earbud, put it in, and I'll watch YouTube, and that way I can hear Cody. That's how I'm going to fix this. So somebody start talking.
Okay. All right.
Oh, not a bad idea. All right, well, I'll start off.
Go ahead. You're good, Cody.
in the let's see, back in 2018, early 2018, I started the first campaign I did for Jack Iron Steel Cowboy back in January 2018. That ran for its 2 months. Score got $10. Did a lot of never not utilizing it at all. I simply just put it on Indiegogo, and I tried a little bit of Reddit, I think, and I actually found a letter through Reddit, so that it wasn't pointless. But yeah, you can't really expect engagement automatically with crowdfunding. That was the first thing I learned. Second thing was timing is a big deal. The only reason, well, not the only reason, a primary factor in Jack Iron Steel Cowboy getting funded was the new awareness being brought to the indie market because of the mainstream no longer serving its old market, at least not in the way that they were used to. And so that was kind of had reached a fever pitch around, let's say March, I guess, of that year. And I just happened to join social media at the right time and just did my damnedest to get in front of as many eyes as possible. And I must have done something right. One of the big things is just, not being antagonistic and trying to be friendly and, sell a product as you'd want it to be sold to you. And if you got a good one, it'll probably work. And that was the first experience there, and that's really just the funding bit. And then that was 2 months of hard grind, and then another month of in demand for a little bit. We hit our stretch goals. We got color. We got all kinds of crazy stuff. Able to find a publisher through that campaign. But everybody's experiences are going to be different. And just dealing with funding, I'd be kind of curious. Your guys' experience kind of similar to what I just kind of laid out.
Well,
if anybody wants to chime in.
I was just going to add that I can remember when I started getting a little bit more active on Twitter, Cody's stuff really stuck out in my mind because he was really hustling for his project well before there were all these YouTube channels and these talk shows and talking about indie comics and stuff like that. And I know he worked his butt off to get that going. So it's one of the things I admire about him, that he had the wherewithal and the fortitude to do all that, and he made it a success. So kudos to you for that, Cody. Anybody talking? Are we dead?
No, we're good. Macho's supposed to jump in now. Go ahead, Macho.
Oh, am I supposed to do that? No.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I didn't get the cue.
Don't you know the number one rule of live broadcast is dead air space?
Yeah.
That's when people check out. So chat, please don't check out. Okay, it's just Macho can't take a cue. That's all.
Oh, gosh. Okay. I was looking at Cal trying to process what was happening at 45 seconds after it was going on and trying to pay attention to what Bruce was saying. Is pretty funny. I guess our crowdfunding campaign, or our first Mutt-Man's first jump into indie comics was a little bit misguided. We saw this whole movement and it was exciting to us because we're so into comics, we're into this world, but we didn't know how to run a campaign, I guess. And it was when we first got in, I guess it was right in the sweet spot of people were able to put comics out there and a lot of people were getting funded and some people were making really, really big money. And there's still people making plenty of good money. And, we were thinking this is the time to get a book published. And we weren't out to make a crazy amount of money. We were just excited about getting our product out there and being seen as an option for, a comic for a creative team, I guess that's what I'm trying to say. And so we did it first and we made a lot of mistakes. Number one, and people probably listen to this, I know Sean knows this and you guys know this, but number one, our first mistake was launch time. And we thought, whatever, we were going to launch in November of 2018. And we were like, whatever, we know Christmas is right around the corner, but people will still spend money. And they didn't. And that was a big mistake. Also, we just didn't know how to set up a campaign page really. We didn't necessarily know how to lay out the Indiegogo, and those were a lot of mistakes that we made. And there's probably 1,000 others that I can name. But I will say that we took every single bit of advice, everything anybody told us, and tried to go back and do it better in every way. And I think we did that, and we succeeded the next time. And it was phenomenal. Like getting that money that we could print that book was huge.
Right.
And so as far as the future of indie comics and how things are going to change, I'm excited to see it, but I just don't know yet. I'm excited to hear y'all's take on that too, and I guess I'll reserve that for after we let somebody else speak. I'll shut up.
All right, I'll jump in now because I'm kind of the other half of this. So, yeah, Macho came to me with this crazy idea about H.I.R.O, and I was like, that should be a comic book. And the next thing I know, it's like we are jumping into the deep end of this whole thing. And it's been a crazy ride. It really has, because I've learned so many hard lessons. I've been accused of being a person that has to learn things the hard way. And this whole process has definitely proven that to be true, because we made, like Macho said, we made so many mistakes on the first round. And then on the successful campaign, we made so many mistakes and still are trying to figure things out to make sure that we can be successful doing this. So it is definitely for me a big time learning experience. 2019 was a year where I learned a lot of life lessons, not just lessons about the comics industry or the indie comics industry or crowdfunding, but also just about life and how you deal with some of this adversity and how you keep yourself sane through the process. Yeah, it's been interesting. A lot of positive things, but a lot of learning too. What do you think, Cal?
Yeah. For me, the experience has been, I mean, like you guys are talking about being a learning experience. It was like a master class but like, as you know, what do they call that? Learning on the job or whatever.
OJT.
Just stumbling my way through the process. I didn't mean to even make a comic book. I was kind of like, I created this secondary Twitter handle under my pen name, Cal Jameson. I wanted to be famous with my real name, but my best friend and my writing partner and artist, we're still going to do stuff in the future, but in the past, he didn't like that, I was posting, conservative stuff on our Twitter account. And so I'm like, well, okay, well, I'll just make like a fake one, And then I found out about Comicsgate and everything. And I was like, hey, these are cool folks. I'll hang out with them for a little bit. And then as I did, I started, getting to know all you guys and all the rest of them. And Shinobi Sasquatch was going to be something I did just for free online, and people liked it on Webtoons. And so I asked Rob, hey, you want to draw this? And Rob liked it. And so, like, all of a sudden I'm making the, this runaway hit Indiegogo book under this name that I just made up on the spot. So now I'm Cal Jameson. Now it's my pen name. And if I ever get famous, it'll be with not my real name, unfortunately. But yeah, it's been crazy. Thankfully, I think most of my stumblings were into the lucky side. Like I was fortunate in a lot of the decisions I made. I think as far as the negatives, the just setting the wrong ship date, I think is just. I mean, you just don't know. Like you don't know how long it's going to take. And if you're working with an artist who's never done a book before, he doesn't know how long he's going to take.
Wow.
Good Lord, could we have misjudged the? I remember talking to Rob, like, hey, I'm setting the ship date right now. What do you think? Oh, I think October. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
October
of 2021.
October last year. Oh my gosh. So yeah, that was. I mean, if there was one big mistake, that was it.
The man who spends 3 minutes on every line.
3 passes, but still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, but that artwork is what
It's insane.
I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry, but
No.
that artwork is so great. Everybody is just seething for it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
everybody wants to see Shinobi Sasquatch realized and finalized.
Yeah, I'm still amazed that not that you were able to acquire Rob for the art, not that. I mean, because I'm sure that you have great, but the fact that he wasn't doing anything else before this, like, he's got this, you know, he knows how to do a comic, you know. His art style is very reminiscent of, you know, it's very pencil and render heavy. It's very appealing to the eye. And so it's like, where'd you find this guy at? You should be credited for, you know, for, I don't know, some sort of like a discovery or whatever. I mean, because, you know, from what I understand, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but he wasn't doing comics, right?
I think if I can briefly lay out what I think the timeline was, I think Rob he did tattoos for a while, and then he was doing like landscaping. Then I think after having his like 4th kid or something, he was like, man, maybe I should like stay home and be a dad. His wife works. Oh, okay. And I think he just started drawing. Like, hey, I'm going to draw again. Like, don't you hate those kind of guys? Like, hey, I think I'm going to draw again and be the best artist out there. My gosh. So I found his Twitter account, and he had like a Wolverine he did. He had like a trio of characters he created, and there might have been a Batman at that point, and then there was like a couple of pages of like, it looked like he was working on his own book. And so I was like, maybe I shouldn't ask this guy because he looks like he's doing something, but I asked him anyway, and he's like, yeah, send me over the pitch or whatever you got. And I was like, cool, I need to get a pitch, I guess. So I wrote a pitch really quick. I sent him like, I think I had 22 pages of Shinobi Sasquatch at the time. It's been completely rewritten. I sent him over that stuff, and it took him like 3 or 4 weeks to read it and get back to me. So I just thought it was a no, and then it was a yes. But you're absolutely right. It was just a stroke of luck, or I'm going to call it a blessing from God that I found him at the exact moment I did. Because I've had other writers DMing me saying, I am so mad at you that you found him before me. But the fact is, I didn't. Like, a lot of other writers had found him already and had been pitching him, but he didn't like any of their ideas. Oh, okay. And that's not a testament to my writing necessarily, because I think it's hard to tell good writing from bad if you're not a writer. You might say I like it or don't like it, but if you're not a writer, you don't necessarily know the technical reasons why it's good or bad. Right. But I think that he just liked the idea, that the concept appealed to him, and
it fits his style really well. I mean, I look at a lot of the other things he draws. Like, I think he did a pinup for Brutus the Badass or something, and that kind of character fit right into his style. Yeah. And then I just saw the recent thing he was doing, where I guess it's another project he's doing for later this year called the Dredge or something, and that it looks like characters that fit right into his style. So apparently, you know, Shinobi Sasquatch fit right. It does. I mean, the book looks great. Well, from the art that I've seen, it looks great, and I'm sure you guys will do great. Well, you've already done great, and that's another thing we're going to talk about. Your phenomenal success with your Indiegogo, and then H.I.R.O's success too. And from what I understand, your second time around, I'm hoping to get success on my second time around. But I will say this, and Cody, you feel free to jump in anytime, man. I'm not trying to drown you out. So, and before I get into my revelation for my 2020 plan, we could talk about everybody's at any time, but this is just a good spot for me to jump in at. Yeah, I do want to welcome everybody that's in the chat. Appreciate you guys coming out. Yeah. Feel free to ask questions. If we miss it the first time around, feel free to ask it again, because I'm going to admit that me looking at 3 different screens and, you know, trying to listen to everybody, you know, what we're talking about, sometimes I forget about the chat. So Cross Comics, R2D2 for life, obviously. Anybody else that was in here that I missed? Looks like a bunch of me and you and Cal. but
yeah.
I did post it up on Twitter, so hopefully more people will join in. But I've made a decision with the rec, right? I've been sitting on this for a year, ever since my campaign didn't succeed. I've been thinking about it. How do I want to do this? How do I want to do this? Because I don't want to do it again where, it fails again for whatever reason. So I've really been paying attention to everybody else's campaigns, see how they do it. And there's no denying that I don't know how to work. I don't want to be trite, but there's no denying that if you get a lot of exposure for your Indiegogo, more chance than not, it will succeed. And it all depends on how much money, what your goal is, and things like that. But I also think a big part of that is building up a following and interacting with them on a regular basis, right? Like I talked about before, Cody's foray into the crowdfunding. It's pretty much how he did it. And I know that all of you guys have pretty much done the same thing. When H.I.R.O was running their campaign, I saw Macho and I saw Mutt on there constantly, just shilling for their project, which they should. And Cal the same way, and him and Rob doing it, and Rob throwing out that great artwork and stuff. And so I made a decision that there's two criteria that I need to meet. One is I need to be at 1,000 followers on Twitter. Okay, I've got like 250 to go. As soon as I reach 1,000, then I'll get real serious about doing the project. I have plans that the project, the rec, when it comes back out, it's going to be an 80-page, perfect bound graphic novel, and it's going to be the full story in one go. It's not going to be little floppies stitched together. Cool. And then, of course, I need to find another colorist. Sergio, the guy that I was working with before, he's become real busy now. I guess some of the pages and stuff has helped him. But he also, I'm a friend of his on Facebook, and he also hustles his work too. He's trying to find a lot of coloring jobs, and he's been getting them lately. So I'll probably have to find another colorist, or I'll color myself, but I don't really want to do that because that just compounds the workload, right? So especially if you're writing and you're drawing, and then you're taking care of the campaign, and you're marketing for it. That's a lot of work, man. That's a lot of work. So that's a lot. But so yeah, I would say that my big takeaway from my foray into that is that be prepared to pump your stuff constantly, right? Constantly. And because the more eyes that see it, the better chance you're going to have.
Yeah.
I'll put a caveat to that, Bruce.
It never ceases.
Shamelessly, but not artlessly.
I'll go like a couple days without getting a backer. Is somebody talking? Is Cody talking?
He was talking. You cut him off.
He was, but
so I'll let you go. It's no.
He'll wait for you. He said he'll wait till you're done. Go ahead.
Okay, sorry, Cody. See, I knew I was gonna do this. No, I'll go. For the entire campaign, we had backers every single day without fail. Then in Demand, we had backers every single day for a long time, and then it trickles down, it slows down. But I'll not promote for a long time, and then we'll go a couple days without a backer, and then I'll see somebody post something and I'll retweet it, or else I'll tweet something out, and I'll get a backer right away, and I'm like, man, I gotta get back into promoting, because it really you think everyone's seen it, but no, not everyone's seen it. And I think that Reg image that Rob has been posting, I think that's getting us backers too, because when he posted that final image, we've gotten several backers since then, even sold a page yesterday. So
wow. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome getting that email notification and opening it up and seeing $300. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Oh man, we're inching towards 60,000. I want to get to
Crazy,
60,000.
man.
Man, that is awesome.
Yeah, that's really good. I'm really proud of you guys. I think you did a really good job. But I'm going to pat myself on the back here though, Cal, and I'm going to tell you. Remember when I had you and Rob on the early on?
Yeah,
I think
you
it
were.
was
I think
before
our
your
first
campaign.
stream. Yeah.
Yeah. I told you I didn't think you'd have any problem reaching 20,000. What an idiot I look like now. You're at 60,000. But
yeah, and we've over doubled our final, our final day of the campaign. We've over doubled that in demand, which I think I've heard is really rare.
That is.
Wow.
But I mean, we've been open for a long time too, so I'm excited. I think Brand did something similar. I think Brand did really well when they went on Ethan. They just got a huge bump, but their in demand phase gave them a huge profit too.
Right. That's something else I want to ask you about here in a minute, but I'm going to let Cody go ahead and say what he was going to say. So.
Oh, well, I was just saying, of course, the main reason why constantly pumping your work is important is because it shows that you believe in it and want it to succeed. But if you do it without art, if you do it robotically, if you do it without finesse, or you keep repeating the same promotions over and over again, obviously doesn't matter how often you're going to do it. The frequency won't matter if it's done artlessly. That was my only main point there.
No. Yeah, that was something that I had told Mutt this, and I had a hard time with, is that I don't like to just post stuff just to post stuff. Like, I don't want to just fill people's newsfeed with in your face, look at this, buy this thing, please buy this thing. And some days I found myself, even during the campaign, starting to type something out 3 or 4 times and then not posting it because I just don't want to be that guy. But you have to be that guy sometimes. And then you have to fill in with relevant stuff that is maybe not necessarily exactly related to your campaign, but you can always, at least direct people in that direction. I thought that was a hard thing, during the funding process, but ultimately something you have to do.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I felt like the marketing aspect of it was harder in a lot of ways than the creation of the book.
Absolutely.
Because it's just like you're using a different side of your brain. You're trying to use the business side of your brain rather than the creative side. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm way more comfortable just sitting around and drawing and talking about comics and having fun than I am at sitting down trying to come up with a business plan for how I'm going to build, thousands of crowdfunders. And it gets really frustrating and can be one of those things that if you're not really prepared mentally for what you're going to have to do, it can shut your whole show down. Yeah. Because when you're constantly pumping that stuff and you're putting out things that you think are really good content, right? Pieces of content that you feel like are just winners, you feel good about it, and you hear crickets on the other end. But then Macho will throw out a picture of a pigeon outside his window, and 100,000 people are like, "We love you, Macho. Thank you for sharing that pigeon." So for me, the frustration goes 2 ways. One is because Macho gets a lot more Twitter play than I do, and 2 is because you just don't know what things are going to do. That's a big thing about social media is you just don't really know what it's going to do, and that can be very frustrating, and it can also be very surprising and make you very happy on any given day.
Well, yeah, and speaking of what you just said, I want to welcome 7 of 9 in here to the chat.
Oh, what up, Sip?
Yeah.
7. Hey, thanks for the bump on Twitter as well, bro. Appreciate that. Get some more people in here. But speaking of what you're talking about, I noticed that too, and sometimes it's a blow to my delicate ego on social media, especially Twitter. I'll go and I'll crank out something that I think is really nice of one of my characters from the Rec and stuff, and I get a little play, not a lot, but then I'll do a freaking fan art of H.I.R.O or Jack Irons or like Shinobi, and almost 100, which is a lot for me, right? Yeah. I'm like, Jesus Christ, what the hell is my character? Are they what did I do wrong here? What's going on? So, but I realize that it has a lot to do with when I do if I do a piece of fan art for one of you guys, I'm not only reaching my followers, but I'm reaching yours as well, because if
Yeah.
you like it and you retweet it, right,
Yeah.
then it goes around to yours, you know, and,
Yeah.
and you guys by far have a lot more followers than I do. So, you know, and so I have to sit back and tell myself, okay, this is what's going on. And so how do I maximize this for my benefit when I want to do my project? So I totally get that, but I know the frustration, but I mean, I go through that on a daily basis on there,
Yeah.
to the point sometimes where I don't think I'm very good. And I don't say this for like sympathy points or whatever. It's just something that comes up. It's like, well, is my art not very good? What's going on here? I must be doing something wrong.
Yeah.
But I just have to,
yeah.
just have to realize that, that's just the way it is on social media.
Yeah, I put out enough stuff though, Bruce, that I think like I could speak to that, because like I've definitely felt that way, where you put out artwork and you're like, man, I really did a good job on that. Nobody cares.
Right.
But there's so much of a social media science to it that you can't like. I learned that it's more about when you post something and in what context you post something than it is about what the content actually is. Especially like you're talking about, you're connecting it to other people, like to their campaigns by doing some fan art and stuff like that.
Right.
That's really like the reason it takes off is because there's an algorithm that helps it take off, and there's a built-in audience with other people. And when you're doing something completely original that you're building from the ground up, it is hard labor, Jack. It is like building a wall. It takes brick by brick. And it's not just Twitter, like it's Facebook, it's Instagram, it's whatever you got. Whatever you can throw at it, you throw at it and see what works. And then you find a pocket of content consumers that want to see it and give a crap about it,
Right.
And then generally speaking, I found that when it comes to social media, from what I've read and from what I've listened to on a lot of other marketing people, your social media interactions don't get you nearly as far as a good email list,
mailing list, right? Yep.
And having a regular contact with your subscribers of a mailing list. And that's where I think me and Macho are going to have to up our game and get better in 2020 is creating content that we give specifically to those people that are on our mailing list, and really amplifying how we use that.
Well, that kind of leads me into my next topic. I kind of like to talk about just a little bit, and that is it has to do with the indie market in 2019. The crowdfunding as a viable market for, and I'm not talking about for people like Ethan Van Sciver or John Malin, or, well, I guess maybe we could even put Cal in that category now. I mean, 60,000. Come on.
Oh yeah, he's in there,
right?
I think you got to hit six figures to get in there.
Yeah.
You can do it.
You just might. Yeah, you just might. I'm talking about more about people, that are asking for like, $5,000, $10,000. I don't like. I'm still questioning whether or not it's sustainable for the small people like that, because once you figure out what you're going to do about shipping and how many you need, how many backers do you have? Do you have 100 backers? Do you have 500 backers? It's almost. I mean, even though it's crowdfunding, it seems to me, especially with the number of books that seem to come late, right? Based on their campaign or whatever. It's the same way that it was in the small press back when I did it back in the 80s, and that is, if you don't have books ready to go, that just kills your sales later, right? You try to do another one, and the only thing people remember is, well, it took them 6 months, or it took them 8 months, or it took them a year to ship it, or whatever. And for the little guy, that's killer, because that will kill your customer base right away. And at least that's the way it was back then. And I'm just curious to see how that's going to translate into this crowdfunding type market. So, I mean, what do you guys think? Do you think that You think it got better in 2019? Is it something that you think you're going to continue with your projects or any future projects of doing crowdfunding, or would you rather try to go the old archaic distribution route through local comic book shops or whatever?
I'd like to hear what Cody thinks about that, since he's actually shipped out some books.
Yeah, right.
Oh, well, I'm happy to talk about that a little bit. So our first issue, we had the line art done when we funded, and we were lucky enough to hit stretch goals to color both issues. Wicked Publishing picked us up, so we were able to print. I didn't have to take the printing and shipping costs out of my campaign, or else there would have been no campaign. But besides those hurdles, which there's a lot in those bits too, tons of hurdles I had to go through in that. Actually, continuous funding, though, that's the key. And campaigns take a ridiculous amount of creative energy out of what could be going into the creation. So that bugs the hell out of me. For one, and for two, really, it is consistent. You can't guarantee, at least not yet, as a small press, I can't guarantee that we can get on a schedule when I can't guarantee the funding is going to come in. And that's hard to lock down artists. It's harder to lock down printing schedules so that you can print on time. It's harder to lock down shipping schedules. All those things get a lot harder when you don't have that consistent funding. And that's the key. That's the way I want to improve, is find a way to do consistent funding. The guys at Rags have been able to do that, and they've been able to knock out 7 issues because of it. By getting monthly funds through Patreon. That's a way I'm trying to adjust to. It's hard, and I think that's a little bit more viable, but it's still Patreon, which has a bunch of negative connotations to it at this point, and it looks bleaker than it probably is for funding. The bigger voices, as you say, they have a consistent reach, and that's all that matters. It doesn't matter where that reach is, where it's coming from. It's just that you can have it consistently, and then you can put your campaign at $2,000 when you actually need $15,000.
Right.
Put your those kind of things. I'm not in a position. My next campaign, which is coming in February for Jack 3, we gotta ask for $7,600. That's the only way we're going to be able to fund, and that's just to make the book. So that it's tough. It's tough, and my hope would be to get my goals on Patreon is if $50,000 a month, I can buy monthly release titles. If we could get $6,000 a month, we could buy monthly. But that's a huge commitment. But if that's only about, with Rags numbers from what I've been looking at, that's about 400 people. At about the $20 tier that they go for.
Right.
And they supplement that with merch in between the time during production and things like that. And that seems to work. And they got a very passionate fan base that way. That'll hopefully translate future works, but I don't know. And myself, to really know about this crowdfunding, I'm going to have to see what Jack 3 does in February. That's when I'm going to have definitive info to hopefully share with folks. You'll see pretty quick. It'll either do what Cactus Coyote did last year, or it'll hopefully gain at least the same ground Jack 1 and 2 got in 2018. But no idea till you pull the trigger.
Yeah. Well, that's true, but I think with Jack 3, I think you guys will do pretty good, because you've got a record of being able to consistently put out a book. The book is top quality. It's good quality, good story, good art. So I think you do pretty well there. So.
Oh, I can definitely see where that Jack Irons, the Ironverse will take off, because there's so many cool things to like about it. The characters are great. The it's like Star Wars Western in space. I mean, it's just awesome.
Space Western, man.
So it's got all the, well, I'm not saying that it's beyond reproach or anything like that, but it has all of the elements that one would need to be successful. So I think you got a great thing going, Cody. I can't see what you get.
And that's the fun with the internet
and
and the
he's a good writer.
crowdfunding is.
And that's
go for it, Cal. Excuse me.
To me, that makes all the difference in the world, because a lot of these books right now are skating on the art. And when the writing starts getting revealed, like with some of the books that have already come out,
absolutely,
that you're gonna lose some of your audience that way when they realize there's no substance to your stories. Cody's a dang good writer. I read the first. He was so gracious and sent me the first issue, and it is so good. The story is solid. It's entertaining. It's really, really intriguing. Like I'm still like scratching my head on stuff, but in a good way. So I know I can't hear you, Cody, but man, I'm a big fan, and I can't wait for that campaign because I know I want to have all 3 of the books physically.
He just said that your check was in the mail for your kind words. No, he didn't say that. I want to welcome Ash and Jackal and Beanie J into the chat.
Hey,
welcome, guys. Like I said, feel free to ask questions of these creators and successful creators. I'm just a moderator, so. So next, continue. Anybody got anything else to add?
Mutt had something to say.
Yeah, you go, Mutt.
What did I have to say?
I don't know. I was just giving you a hard time. Well, he was talking about. I'll jump in. I'll say something because Cody was talking about like the future of crowdfunding and how we see it continuing on from this year. And it's going to have to evolve a little bit, I believe, to be viable long term. Like, and I think Mutt and I have learned some things that we're gonna have to do to make sure that our campaigns will continue to get picked up. I think when we started it, we didn't have enough like art done and things like that. So I think we'll probably do that next time. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of other little things that we're just going to do. And I think more people having the art done ahead of time so that you say, like, for example, I got that Feast or Famine book by Dave Schwartz, which is a beautiful, excellent book. And I backed it, and it's come before 95% of everything else that I've backed. Like, wow. Which is, it came signed, done. Like boxed, and it's just done. Yeah. And it's kind of nice to have an item done. Like that probably won't be how we launch Volume 2. It probably won't be done, but I think, and I'm speaking for you at this point, Mutt, but I think we'll probably have more done than we had on this campaign. Definitely. Part of that though, part of the problem is that we have put people into our book, like 7 of 9 in the chat. He's part of it, and you can't have everything done, and you can't have 100% of the story figured out if you're going to allow people like to buy into the book like that. And he got to be a little bit more of the book than maybe in some other comics that have been put out. Mm-hmm. And that was by design, but it ultimately did have an effect on the book, and I said this the other day in a very good way. And I think it honestly, we changed a couple story elements because of it, and I'm excited about how that panned out. But yeah, it's going to evolve. Things are going to change, and people are going to have to do things differently. And these guys that are throwing themselves out there that might not have a really solid concept or a solid story written, they're going to start fading out. And the people that are giving solid, putting out solid books and good quality content, they're going to get the dollars from the people that aren't, we're going to fade out some of these guys, and the people that are making money are going to stay, I think.
Right. Yeah, I think it's going to come down to what kind of content you're giving, just like anything else. I mean, there's all kinds of ways to make money right now on the internet. There's a lot of rage dollars, and there's a lot of controversy dollars that you can make in any given time in any given category of entertainment, right? But ultimately, if you're a comic book fan and you like good stories and good art, then good stories and good art are going to win out over whatever the latest, controversy, thing is. So Comicsgate has a lot of fuel, right, going into 2018, 2019. 2020 is going to be very interesting to me to see like how the indie scene kind of plays out, because there's a ton of people now who are kind of like sick of the mainstream for one reason or the other, for political reasons or for non-political reasons, right?
Mm-hmm.
and it's going to be really interesting to see how the category of independent comics plays out in in dollars and cents. There's a lot more money coming our way nowadays, right? People have a choice. They can get on the campaign. People are getting a lot more educated in how you crowdfund anything, not just comics, but anything, right? So crowdfunding is becoming a mainstream way for people to buy things, and they understand it better. Like a couple of years ago, people didn't understand it nearly as well as they do now. They understand that I see the artwork. It looks pretty good. I see the personalities. I like them. I like what they're saying about the story. I think I'm going to back this. And they do that knowing that it could be a long time before they see that first issue, but it still resonates with them and they still back it. And for the most part, even if you push the date back, as long as you're showing your artwork consistently and explaining to your customer base what's going on, generally speaking, they're very forgiving. That's what we found anyway.
Yeah, and to touch on your point, I think that if you can make people understand, and I think more people understand this now, but as far as potential backers and things of that nature, if you can get them to understand that a crowdfunder, either Indiegogo, Kickstarter, it's pretty much a pre-order, right?
Yeah.
You're pre-ordering.
Yep.
And as long as you, I guess, and I think this is what you're saying, as long as you're upfront with your backers and you let them know, okay, this is how long it's going to take us to get this done. And if you have a delay of some sort, probably out of your hands or whatever, and you let them know, hey, this is what's going on, just be totally transparent and upfront. I'm pretty sure most of the people will understand that, especially if they go into a crowdfunder, because they have to know that that's a pre-order. They're not going to their local retailer and picking up a product, paying for it, getting the product. I buy a lot of games. I'm a board gamer. Okay, I like board games. And I buy a lot of games on Kickstarter, and sometimes I wait a year and a half for the freaking game. Mm-hmm. I mean, no, because the production is a lot more involved in the production of a board game with little miniatures and stuff. It takes a lot more time to produce those than it does a comic. So yeah, I think as long as you get people to understand that, and I think that's what you're saying, that you'll be fine. People will be fine. So what do you see? So you think it's going to be better in 2020? You think a lot more folks? I'm curious to see how many people are going to get into the industry. This is one of the reasons, like I like doing these live streams and doing these videos, because I'd like to see the independent market grow. I like to see it get strong, with good titles, good books, good people, good creators. And I'm just curious to see what 2020, if there's going to be an influx of people doing it after they see the success of some of these campaigns. And hey, you know what? I could do this too. I'm a writer and I could do this. Now, obviously not everybody's going to be able to succeed, but the more spaghetti you throw on the wall, the more sticks, right? So
yeah.
So
yeah.
What do you guys think about that? You think 2020 is going to be a boom for the indie comics scene?
I don't know if we're going to get as many new books. Maybe we will get a lot more new creators throwing books out. I kind of personally thought we might see some of those guys that they threw a campaign up and they might have funded, but it was, it's a lot of work. Like, it's a second job basically, and they may not do it again. There's not been a lot of sequel issues really in the indie scene. Like, Nasser's gotten some sequels. Wait, no, he doesn't have any sequels, does he? Who has a sequel book? Jawbreakers and Iron Sights, same guy.
Well,
and
then you
Carl
have
O'Roe. He has a couple issues, and Cody.
Mike Miller's got a couple of Lone Stars.
So there's not a ton of them, and there's a lot of like single books, and that's
Graveyard Shift.
Oh yeah, right. But
The
there's
Black
not a
Ops.
lot of them.
Black
Yeah,
Ops,
there's
that's
not
right.
a ton of them out. But I think that I'd like to see some people continuing their series too, instead of just throwing something out there and then going on to the next thing. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Maybe we'll see some more of that in 2020. But I don't know. I don't know how many new campaigns we're going to see. We'll see some, but I don't know if it'll be like 2019. There's one every single week.
Dude, I have a feeling it's going to be a lot more.
Really?
Yeah, my prognosis, I think, is that it's going to be at least half, and then again, that many more projects hitting, because there's just every time I see somebody pop up on a chat or anything like that, it's like, yeah, mine's coming. Everybody's got something.
Yeah.
And what I've learned and what I've, as I'm just kind of looking at the fan base of all these different people, a lot of what I see is that there are tons of comic creators / fans, right?
Yeah.
So that's really attractive. Like what we're doing here is really attractive to people who have a dream of being a comic book creator. They see this as a good entry point, and they're fans. They're almost fans of the craft that we're doing first. Like they're fans of the industry first,
right?
And then they kind of like see a lot of stuff that they like, and I'm going to back that. I'm excited about that. That's cool. But then, like I'm telling you, man, like probably a big portion of the hero group that we're selling to also has comic book ideas of their own that they want to do. And a lot of the reason they back is because people like us inspire them and make them feel like they can do it.
Mm-hmm.
So we're kind of the tip of the spear a little bit in this kind of new indie scene. I mean, there's been a lot of people before us, obviously, but in this kind of like sort of like this vein of it, you know, people like Cal and people like Cody who've already gotten the material out there, a lot of things out there. Those people are being watched very closely by a good portion of people who have their own dreams of being comic book creators.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, you know, and that's not the only, you know, crowdfunding is not the only avenue for indie either. I mean, like I could think of one good example, like Rags, right? Brian Ball, is that his name? I think that's his name, right? With Rags, I don't think he went the crowdfunding scene. If I remember correctly, he released the first book online, and then he went through whatever that distribution company was, not Comixology, but the other one,
Comic Central. It's dead now. But yeah.
Is that dead?
Yeah, I got an award for it. I was hoping for a Best of 2019 award, but they failed back in like November. They had to close doors. Pretty sad. A lot of good comics on there that I don't know where they got, where else they ended up.
Right. But definitely, you know, the crowdfunding scene really helps indie creators, especially if you don't have the upfront money to deal with all the costs. And if you got a good product, you can succeed, and you guys are tribute to that. So, is there anything you want to touch on for 2020? Like maybe your any future plans? I know Cody's got the Jack Irons 3. It's supposed to. Your campaign launches in February, right, Cody?
Yeah, right now we're doing the pre-launch page hype, and hopefully we'll actually have a few pages in line art anyway before the campaign hits in February. So maybe I'll be previewing some panels as we go on. But yeah, okay.
February for Jack Irons 3. So you got any other plans? You got all this stuff. Well, I know of one plan you have.
Yes.
I'm supposed to be involved in that of some sort.
Yes, indeed. No,
right.
Hopefully with Jack Irons 3, there's a lot of directions we can go to with the campaign depending on funding. One of the options is an Ironverse anthology, which would include 4 minis showing the other 4 main characters of Ironverse comics, including Jean Du, which is who you're working on there. And right now, the main one I'm trying to get done is the Tracker Top Predator one with our letterer Vince Rush, which people might know. He did a fan art for Jawbreakers that actually ended up in the book. And he also is doing Hellseekers with one of the writers from Alterna. I remember the handle more than Spencer Desmond at Rooster Punch.
Right.
Rush
But
is
yeah.
the man. He's no joke.
Yeah.
That dude is talented.
Legit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited for that. That's the first bit that we're going to try and fund, and if we can at least get that, then it'll end up in the back of Jack 3 as a secondary, story like they used to do in the old Weird West books.
Right. And what about you guys from Hero, Mutt and Dan? What other than getting Hero finished, I assume, right?
Yeah.
You got plans for a sequel? You get is the whole series planned out?
Yeah, we have volume 1, 2, and 3. So volume 1 will be fulfilled shortly, and then volume 2, I think we're gonna have to have our team powwow to figure out exactly when we want to launch and get that out publicly. But that's the plan as of right now to get that pre-production at the moment and get it out. So that's exciting to think about. Even though this is finishing up, it's always exciting to think about a future comic getting made, and it's going to be. I can't wait for people to read the first issue or the first volume, because I can just hear everybody, all the saliva dripping out of people's mouths right now to get to the volume number 2. I can't wait.
It's like the smell of bacon.
It's gonna be good. It's gonna be good.
I can't wait for Cal to read it, because Cal is he's just gonna destroy you, man. He's gonna teach you a few lessons.
I have no doubt in my mind.
I'll tell you what, I like Macho's stuff. He's sent me. By the way, I'm sorry I haven't gotten back to you on that.
All good. Take your time.
He sent me stuff. He wants advice on different things, or feedback. And I like everything I read, man. Like I'm really hard to please, really hard to please. I love the way you think. I love your ideas, the way you execute them. You're doing great, man. I mean, you guys are. I know Mutt's joking, but no, you guys are on the right track. Mutt, your style is awesome. It fits Macho's writing perfectly. It's going to be an awesome road for you guys. I have no doubt.
I don't know if I take that as a compliment or not.
Oh my goodness!
No. You know what? For real though, but for real, Hero is one of the funnest things I've ever done. But at the same time, these projects do not pay any bills.
No,
right? Like these projects,
not
I
yet.
mean, even some of these that are really big still don't pay really for the amount of work that goes into it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's I'm like, you got to. One thing you have to establish is, if anybody that's interested in getting into this, you have to love it. It has to make your day to draw a comic or write a comic, because if it doesn't, then this is not the game for you.
Yeah.
No, for sure, because it just eats up so much of your time.
Yeah.
I remember when I had a regular job, even before I got into the game industry, and I thought, man, this is going to be awesome. I'm going to work in the game industry. I'm going to get to work on games all day long. And then I start doing it, and then I get home and I say, God, I don't want to play a fucking game. I don't want to look at a game. I just want to watch some TV or something. And, and I think that's the way it is with a lot of things, somebody told me a long time ago, I think it was my father. My father, he was kind of wise, I guess, now that, I'm older.
Funny how that works.
Yeah, he told me, don't make your hobby your job, because then it's no longer your hobby, right? It's your job. So whatever. But yeah, you're right. You have to love it, because you're going to pour a lot of time and effort into it. So you better like it.
Yeah, and dude, it weighs on your family too. It's not just you.
Yeah.
It weighs on your family. I mean, I'm just telling you guys, I have learned so much in 2019. And it's so much of what I'm going to do in 2020 is take that knowledge and try to make 2020 an easier road
And build
2019.
on it.
Yeah.
And build on it.
Yep.
Hey, I want to welcome, I guess he's been in here a while. He's just been lurking. Trusty sidekick. Out, man.
Trusty's my boy.
And then R2D2 for Life says that, Cal, you're just trying to, with your headphone, your getup was just trying to match your headphone color. Is that true?
I'm colorblind, but isn't this orange and this red?
Dude, it's working, man. Whatever it is,
Yeah,
it's working.
it looks great.
Okay, I am a
Looks
literal commercial for Star Wars,
Yeah.
Marvel.
Daredevil,
Yeah.
Goonies.
Goonies,
Yeah.
and Stranger Things. Right now,
That's hilarious.
Is that a down vest?
no, it's very thin. It's in Arizona. I'm in Arizona. It's an Arizona vest.
Oh, okay.
But we've got.
Are you in the Navy or something?
Because I haven't seen one of those since
That's hilarious. That's awesome.
But that's cool. Yeah, that's cool.
I have that same Goonies shirt. I assume you get the loot crate too, and that beanie. I have that beanie too.
Yeah, I used to get the loot crate. I had 2 of these beanies. I lost one. I got a second one. Now this one's ripped.
Yeah.
And then I bought 2 of the. After I got the first one of these, I bought another one because I knew I was going to wear it out.
Yeah.
It's such a good shirt. I mean,
It's a
look
good
at
shirt.
this. Goonies never say die.
Yeah.
Friggin' awesome.
That's nice.
Yep.
How are you gonna feel when they remake that movie and make it horrible?
Don't
watch
say
it.
that.
Don't even watch it.
I'm going to ignore that it exists if they do that.
Exactly, dude. Just start ignoring them.
I hear you, brother. I hear you. That's what happens to a lot of my favorite things in life. They get remade or whatever.
Nothing from the 80s should be rebooted. Nothing.
Right.
Mm.
That's the perfect.
Everything was perfect. They don't need to
perfect
reboot
decade.
anything from the 80s.
I agree.
Sequels like the Ghostbusters sequel, I think I have hope. I have hope for it.
Yeah.
The 2016 one was obviously garbage, but
Mhm.
and not because it was girls, it was just garbage.
No, I
It was a terrible
agree.
Script. Have you guys seen Screen Rant on YouTube? He does like the pitch meetings.
Yeah.
That guy's awesome. He did a pitch meeting. If you guys, everyone watching, go after you're done with this video, go look up Screen Rant pitch meeting Ghostbusters 2016. It's one of the funniest things you'll ever watch. It is so freaking good.
Yeah, that's a good
my
channel.
gosh.
I like
yeah,
that channel.
that guy's awesome.
Mhm.
Yeah. Anyway,
So I guess all of you would say that 2019 was pretty good for you guys then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
Absolutely.
2019 was great. It was awesome.
It was a year of
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, let's rewind a little bit.
Yeah.
As far as like you guys are talking about, this doesn't pay the bills. Take it from a guy who's made almost 60K on his campaign. I'm scared to do the math at this point.
Oh yeah.
I did it a little while back, and my check could potentially be okay, but I'm like a part-time worship pastor. They don't make much money. And I can't cut hours or anything based on what I'm getting from Shinobi Sasquatch. So do not do this crowdfunding hoping to become Ethan Van Sciver and quit your job. I'm going to repeat it. The most important thing you'll take away from tonight, you have to love it. You have to do this because you love it. I mean, I'm doing Patreon now, just prose, just writing like short stories. I have 2 patrons, and I'm writing the hell out of these stories for 2 people. I'm sure I'll get 3 at some point, but you just have to love what you're doing. I love writing. I love it. I want to write until I can barely see and my fingers are arthritic. I just want to keep writing until Jesus takes me home because I just love it. I've been a worship pastor for 20 years and I love doing that. There's but that's a whole other aspect. That's my spiritual worship. That's my offering to God. But writing is fun. Music hasn't been fun in like over a decade, but writing has been what you said earlier, Bruce, that your dad's wisdom. Don't make your hobby your job. With music, man, I loved music when I was first starting. Like, I'm like, oh, I can sing. I have a good voice. Cool. I'm going to learn to play guitar. And I did that. And it was awesome for a while. But man, once you make it your job and you're clocking in and out.
Yeah, it becomes tedious, right?
And so that's one of the reasons I kind of like where we're at in indie comics now, because we're not, other than Ethan, Doug, Malin, and these guys aren't even really indie. Like, they're pro, We're all just doing it. We're making a little bit of money, but we're doing it because we love doing it. And I love that. But I will be rich. If someone offers me to be rich, I will do that too.
I hear you. Let's see here. Ash and Jack will hit that like button, people. Yes, I would appreciate
share
that.
this. Yeah,
share it too. People can watch the recording of it later. And I feel kind of bad because Cody hasn't been talking very much, and he's a good guy. But I do want to ask Cal something because I don't think he touched upon it. Do you have comic plans for 2020? Do you have another project in the works?
Yeah.
Anything you want to share?
Yeah, Shinobi Sasquatch book 2 is outlined and it's awesome. I love book 1. Don't get me wrong. I love it. I love the story. I love where we've gone with it. But like you guys were saying for H.I.R.O, that it's going to make him wanting, waiting for episode or issue 2. Shinobi Sasquatch 1 ends on the story resolves. So Von Klaus, in case you're listening, well, he knows, he read the script. Von doesn't like cliffhangers, and I totally get that. But Shinobi Sasquatch book 1, the story resolves in a way, but you're immediately going to be like, oh my gosh, Rob, can you learn to draw faster?
Yeah.
Because I can't wait for book 2. It's going to be awesome. Book 2 is great. I'm incorporating a lot more of the Japanese mythology
Sweet.
into it, like Shinobi Sasquatch's mentor who taught him ninjutsu and martial arts. There's a whole thing going on with that. There's a big Lovecraftian element in book 2. Yes, I'm melding Japanese folklore and Lovecraftian cosmic horror. It's going to be so cool, but that's going to be a ways down the line. I'm working on a book called, I don't know if I can announce this. I'm going to do it. I'm working on a book called Veil of Night with Jimmy Reyes, who is he's a pro inker and penciler. He's really, really good.
Man.
He lost his writer on that book, and we were already trying to decide on something to do together. And he pitched me that, said, "Hey, I lost my writer. You want to just take this thing over?" And so we're working on that right now. It's really cool. It's a fantasy book, kind of set in the Middle Ages, but like, I wouldn't call it high fantasy, but there's like I don't know. It's gonna be cool. It's horror. It's fantasy. And then I'm working on a book called 13 Bones with Jeremiah Sheik.
Yeah.
And I'm working on Wendigo, Arizona with Ryan Cairns, Campfire Comics.
Dang.
And I'm sorry if there's someone else. I know I've got like other things out there, because I mean as a writer, you just got to keep writing, and so I'm, if as artists approach me and as I see people that I like, I'm like, hey, I want to work with you. I just throw it out there, or I just say yes if I like their work. And so there's a lot of stuff, in the oven, but I don't know what's going to pop out first. I think with Veil of Night, we're probably going to try. You were talking about this earlier, whether we want to keep going crowdfunding or move in, doing a different, route. I'm going to be pitching a lot of this stuff out, because I mean, looking at, I know in a lot of ways, like the indie comics scene that we've been a part of has kind of taken on even more stigma than I think we'd hoped. There's also, like, you got Jay Lee drawing Cyberfrog Wrecked Planet's cover.
Yeah.
You guys see that?
Yeah, that's amazing.
Jay Lee's he's huge, and he's drawing that. Ethan's working with Dynamite. Several pro artists like Brett Booth and Liam Sharp follow Rob Willis and interact with him on Twitter because of his art. I think that people are just kind of going, all right, you know what? We just have to acknowledge there's a lot of talent in that indie market, and so I'm just gonna start throwing caution to the wind and pitching stuff out there, because you have the potential to make huge amounts of money in crowdfunding if you can get there, but I want to be a working writer, even if it's not my whole income. I want to be writing a book every month, or 2 or 3 books every month that are on the stands in the comic shop, or if hopefully they don't all close, but Comixology or whatever, I want to be like producing, like, that's my dream, is to produce serial stories where you follow a character for years, like Constantine or Hellboy or whatever, So yeah, that's my dream. But yeah.
Or you could always land something like Robert E. Howard did with Conan and King Cole, right? Live on forever, 100 years or whatever. So
I had a dream the other night that someone made a video game out of Shinobi Sasquatch. No, it was a cartoon, like an animated cartoon thing, and I was sitting there watching it with my family and just saying, I can't believe my story is is a cartoon now, and that would be just amazing. And I think we'll see some of that in the future with some of these,
Well,
Yeah.
some of the bigger books.
yeah, and like you were talking about with crowdfunding and stuff, and like if we reel it back, 30 minutes earlier, I guess that's and it sounds like I'm down on crowdfunding. I'm not really down on crowdfunding. That's not the thing. It's just that I don't think that there's a market in crowdfunding for floppies, like, for
Right.
single issue 24-page books.
No.
I think if you go crowdfunder, you have to go big, right? You have
Yeah.
to go, full graphic novel, or, something like what Doug TenNapel did with Earthworm Jim and Bigfoot Bill. I mean, hardbound. These are coffee table books, right?
Yeah.
Stuff they, and because the amount of money that you have to ask, like, this is what I wanted to say, and anybody listening to the chat, if anybody's still there and you want to learn about crowdfunding, here's an important thing to remember about crowdfunding, especially if you go Indiegogo. If you set a goal, the amount you charge for shipping goes towards your goal. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because it's not like a Kickstarter. Like when Kickstarter does it, you set a goal, that's purely for the tiers because the shipping comes later.
Yeah.
Right? They charge the shipping in the pledge manager after the campaign's over. Indiegogo, they don't do it that way. Indiegogo, the money you collect, if I click on something that says, yeah, I want this perk or I want this tier, and then it says at the bottom plus $5 for shipping, that $5 that you pay or that $10 that you pay goes towards your goal. So just remember that.
Yep.
That was another, I don't know if you guys experienced this. That was another kind of like minor issue, I guess, for us, is that I don't want to charge $10 for shipping domestically.
Yeah.
And I don't want to charge 20 for the rest of the world. That was because I just don't know. I don't know how much it's going to cost. And I've heard horror stories of people having to pay in the end because they miss. Yeah.
I was going to ask you, I'm sorry to interrupt.
No.
But this is a question for all of you guys. You all have successful campaigns.
Yeah.
Do you know how many international orders you had?
For us, I'll just spitball a percentage. It was probably about like 25%.
Really?
Yeah. It was more than I thought.
Yeah.
That's definitely the case, more than I thought. And from some of the places I would never have thought may have wanted to order a comic book. So it's very interesting what you get. I mean, that's our case anyway, probably 25% international.
Mm-hmm.
So for mine, okay.
Cody's talking. Hold on just a second.
No, it's all right. It's all right.
Go for it, Cody.
I lose my groove, I'm done. It's all right. I'll wait. It's all good. I'll wait.
All right, go ahead, Cal.
Go ahead, Cal.
What did Cody say, if you guys don't mind repeating?
He said he lost his groove. He'll wait till you're done.
Oh, I'm sorry, Cody. Okay, so I've made 45,500 in United States, and the rest is going down the line: United Kingdom, then Canada, then Australia, Germany, New Zealand, Japan, Finland, Austria, France, Denmark, Ireland, Netherlands, Sweden, Norway, Switzerland. This might be interesting for people. Switzerland, Singapore, Iraq, Italy, Isle of Man, whatever that is, Argentina,
Scotland.
Poland.
That's where I'm from.
Oh, is it?
Isle of Man. Isle of Man.
Isle of Man, yeah.
Argentina, Poland, Czech Republic, Israel. Hi, Emma. Brazil,
Emma.
Indonesia, Guam, Portugal, Costa Rica, Qatar, Spain, and Saudi Arabia.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean that is.
I was trying to find where mine was. Where's it listed at?
If you go to Campaign Insights, you scroll down, and it'll be under like how sources work.
Yep. All right.
Go ahead, Cody. Yep.
Anyway, I was just gonna say, with our campaign, we did not charge any different shipping for wherever it was going.
Mm-hmm.
You paid $25. You were getting 2 issues, and you ended up with a pinup 2 for free.
Right.
This is only because of Wicked Publishing. Again, a lot of people, there's a different path for everybody. The one thing I always want to put forward, because I hear so many of the bigger pros especially saying, you need this. You have to have this done. This is the way to do it. No. You do it your way. You put your heart and soul out there. And if you do it right, you do it true, and you have something there, people usually want to hear it.
Yeah.
And just with the shipping for international, for instance, we had about 50 backers internationally. And again, there would be no way I could have. So that was, let's see, 50 out of about 480. So I don't know, it's a little over 10%, 12%, something like that.
Well,
And that was all eaten elsewhere. So I know H.I.R.O, you guys were saying that you guys went in flat-footed. You didn't really know what you're doing, but you kind of dive in. Same exact boat.
Yeah.
You can steer that ship.
Yeah.
Is one of the main points I want to tell folks. If it's something you want to do, that's the 2 points. The main thing is it's hard, and it's going to be soul-crushing at points.
Yeah.
But also, it's if you want, it's something that's, if you have something to say, a story to tell, a team that you want to get paid, a some art you want to share with the world, then you make it happen. It's the only way it's going to get done.
Right.
Yeah, 100%.
I think you made a couple good points there, and that is, it's okay to take, it's okay to get advice from people that have been there and done that. But some people are very strict with their, like, this is the way it has to be done or you will fail type thing. I've never bought into that. When I was doing my Indiegogo, of course, I guess it's all moot point because, I didn't succeed like you guys did. But I will say this. I never bought into I need to charge $10 across the board for shipping so that domestic buyers have to cover the difference in cost of international buyers, right? I just never bought into that. And I actually had one. And the reason I bring it up about international buyers, and you guys have a lot better sample to pull from than I did. I had 100 backers, and out of the 100 backers, I had one international backer, and that was for a digital copy. So that wouldn't have cost me anything.
Yeah, that's a big deal
too. Did you guys say
H.I.R.O,
you have 25% international?
Yeah, hold on. I can tell you. Right, we probably don't have quite that much. It's not quite that. It's not. Yeah, we probably have like 15% international. Okay. But we have like you were listing out places that bought the comic, like Singapore, United Kingdom, Ireland, Finland, Canada, Norway, Australia, Sweden, Thailand, and New Zealand. Yeah. And I can't believe there's people in all these places that found us over the internet and got excited about our project. Isn't that like the coolest thing ever? But yeah, it's probably 15% realistically is probably what we have, I guess. Which is still like, I mean, it's probably like 30 backers, maybe a little less than that.
So. I mean, if people are worried
I think about
almost international shipping too, you don't have to offer it.
45,500 is almost, the rest of that is almost 25%. Whoever, if someone wants to do math, they can. But yeah, it's it seems kind of similar. But yeah, it's enough people that I really kind of wish I would have done my due diligence to learn all the shipping prices for all the nations, and like figured it out one by one. So if you're in Thailand, you have one shipping price, and if you're in Canada, you have So on the next campaign, whatever it is, my goal is to know all those shipping prices, and then have it, at least have it like grouped into, if one nation, or if there's 10 nations that are all $20 shipping, then those will be one category. But this is, I mean, like we said earlier, this is a learning experience. And I think I even said before the campaign I was going to try and not do $10 domestically, but I ended up doing it, and we did great anyway. But yeah, it kills me that I had to do that, and I didn't back some really high profile books because they had the exact same shipping price that I had. So anyway,
Hey, I want to give a shout out to Michael Beacon. He's in the chat. Hey,
Yeah.
Michael.
thanks for showing
What's
up.
up, Michael?
R2D2 for life. He says time for bed.
Night.
Yeah, we ran a little late. We ran about an hour and 30 minutes as well. I did want to get Cody back in. He had something. I want to apologize to the chat and to my guest. I don't know what happened with this mic stuff. I don't know why one person can't hear one other person. So I apologize for that. So we're having to kind of negotiate that kind of traffic cop this discussion. So yeah, Cody, go ahead, man. Go ahead. Is Cody there?
Cody.
Cody. Did I lose him completely now?
Oh no. So everybody knows whoever is in the fourth spot, which happens to be Cal at this point, whoever is in that spot in the stream can only hear Team Hero and Bruce. Can't hear Cody. So we have to keep typing into our personal chat when Cal can talk and when he can't.
Go, Cody.
Alrighty. Anyway, Wicked Publishing, the average price that I got from that for shipping was between $5 and $20 for international. Canada being one of the more expensive, surprisingly, and also one of the more prevalent in ordering books. So that's something to consider. Definitely look at least at the Canada prices to average out your internationals, and you'll probably be all right. If you want to just do one flat for international to kind of help that, unlike attaching it to your domestic backers.
Right.
I'm going to be very happy this time because I'm not going to have to collect mailing addresses by hand. That was something we had to do because of how we ran our campaign. There's honestly how weird I ran the Jack Irons campaign. It shouldn't have gotten anywhere. And it's only because of folks like you taking the time to allow me to talk and engaging with our work. And it's the same thing with everybody here. You know, that's what matters the most is if you guys like what we're doing, please try and share the chat. Because the corporate cacophony is very hard to be heard over. And the more voices lent to something that you enjoy, the more likely it'll continue.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think that's an important thing that you're talking about is, and one of the things I firmly believe in, just because I'm no stranger to the indie market, and I know that it really helps. I know we're in competition with each other, kind of, okay? Because what I do, you know, your fans might not like, and my fans might not like what you like, but that doesn't really, I mean, so the money's going to even out anyways. So although we're kind of in competition, I just like to see us be able to get stronger, do more things. You know, I don't think it always has to come down to Marvel, DC, Image, and you know what, Boom Studios or whatever, to get some good story. I mean, there's a lot of good writers out there, a lot of good artists, and I just like to see him get out there. And you know, Rob is a good example of that. I mean, the dude's phenomenal, and you know. Mutt here doing H.I.R.O, you know, good stuff, and then Jack, Cody's artist for Jack is, you know, good stuff, very stylized. It fits his writing perfectly, and so yeah, I think it's important. I think it's important that we support each other, and you know, even if it's just minor, just you know, hey, you know, retweet this campaign, or hey, you know. Good stuff, you know. Macho's a cool dude, even though he has really sharp incisors and. You know.
Vampire boy.
So yeah. So.
Yeah, can I say something in regards to not the incisors? That's disgusting and freaky.
I know.
Ah!
Jealous.
But in regard to what you were saying there, I think that the biggest thing for 2019 is probably. I think you could sum it up in one word, and that's access.
Mm-hmm.
And that's that so many of us sort of gained access to a lot of things that we never had before through the internet, through the miracle of communications. You know,
Mm-hmm.
we gained access to big audiences, you know, that were interested in all this stuff. We gained access to new friendships and you know, a bunch of new pals that are like-minded in what they like and they're into. And we gained access to watching some of these guys who have done this for so many years see their process, hear what they're saying about some of the stuff they're running into. Actually, watching some people who've been in the business for like 20 some years go through the process of a crowdfunder, and you get to watch as they run into problems, real time. And I mean, the access that we've been given is just sort of miraculous.
Yeah.
And at least for me, I don't think I ever would have had confidence to just jump in the way we did without watching and learning and listening and reading. So I think that's been sort of the thing I'm most grateful for in 2019 was the access to all of this that I've been able to see. And I think in 2020 is going to be a whole lot of rubber meets the road. And we'll really get to see the results of some of these, months and months and months of work and labor, It's going to be great. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to sort of the wins and the losses because it's all going to tell us like where to go next. So 2020 is going to be a year of like education and seeing what's going to happen and sort of having the results to show. And then 2020 into 2021 is going to be taking a lot of the people who have the best insight are going to be the ones who win. And they're going to take this thing to the next level. Another thing I'm really interested to see is how people who are very established pros that are sort of like hinting that they're going to go crowdfunding, big names. I'm really interested to see how that shakes things up. Does it bring people in? Does it bring a whole new huge comic book crowd in to see some of these other things that are going on? Or does it suck all the oxygen out of the room? It's going to be interesting to see how that factors in as well.
Yeah, I would be interested to see how that pans out as well, because if you just get a handful of people that are already in the industry working for mainstream comic books and they come into the crowdfunding and they do well, I mean extremely well, you're going to see more of them want to do it. And just like you said, is there room for that many people? I guess we'll find out. So
Yeah, I think Mutt touched on a good point that I think that like Sean Gordon Murphy and these big guys who are talking about crowdfunding, I think they're going to bring a lot of people to Indiegogo who probably haven't tried it before. They don't even know about, a lot of normies don't even know about the indie comic market on crowdfunding. And they're going to bring those people, and then those people are going to see, like if you go to Indiegogo to explore, they're going to see all these other books, and some of those are going to hit with them.
Right.
And I think that's when we're going to start to see, I kind of have a prediction. I think we're going to start to see like a splintering of fan bases of, people that are finding their niche, like if they're into sci-fi, Rec is gonna appeal to them. If they're into horror,
I can't wait for Rec.
Yeah, I mean, there's all these different things, and I think like Vaughn was really smart because he did horror and comedy, which is what I do, but he also brought in like a manga element to it.
Yeah.
So good.
And so he got like a whole bunch of extra like he's over 10K more than, above what we're doing. And I think that probably is all manga fans, because there's a lot. I mean, there are, like, I don't know if you guys know this, we're all kind of, above that age, but there's a lot of people into manga in the United States right now. It's crazy. So it was really smart to hire Marco to do that, because as good as Rob is, Rob appeals to those guys who loved Pitt in the 90s. They loved Prophet, Yes. Yeah. And so yeah, all of people around our age, they all were like, oh my gosh, Image, early.
Yeah.
But Monster MD is appealing to everyone who likes horror, comedy, and then also the whole manga crowd. So anyway, but yeah, I think there's going to be like a lot of, I think that we're going to have a lot more creators throwing their hat, their hat in the ring, or however you say that. Right. And I think that would have probably failed if it weren't for these big pros now saying, hey, I'm going to check out that market. They're going to bring the audience. I really think that 2020 is going to be good. I think it's going to be bigger than 2019. Though I don't want to stay in crowdfunding forever. I think it's going to keep growing. That's my prediction.
Right.
Yeah, I think crowdfunding is going to morph a little bit in that, and because of what you're saying, that it's gonna become almost like a not on demand service, but more like you're buying into an experience more so than a product.
Yeah.
Because that's the way it's been for me. Like I'm getting into, I'm backing these projects and getting to see their production real time.
Yeah.
So I'm paying a lot of money for a single book, but what I'm getting out of that single book is I'm getting to watch the thing get made. I'm getting to see progress on it, and I really feel it makes you feel important to be a backer and to have a stake in the game, and then to watch it like come to fruition, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like I think that crowdfunding is going to catch on to that, to where it's not just about, especially in comics crowdfunding, it's not just about the product that you get. It's not just about Shinobi Sasquatch. It's also about watching the thing come to life along the way.
Yeah.
And then when you finally get it, it sort of is like the culmination of a total experience that you've had.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And that's going to be where people are going to start to utilize it a lot more, and they're going to be explaining, like, people are going to say, well, I like crowdfunding. I like to just get on there and see what people are doing. Crowdfunding is fun. Crowdfunding as the experience in itself is fun, not just what you're getting, but like there's going to be people that just dig crowdfunding, and they're going to be a part of it. And when they find comics, I think that's going to be a match made in heaven.
Right.
There's a huge audience out there that, just like you said, a bunch of normies, they don't know what this is or anything about it. They're the ones that are going to the Marvel movies. They're seeing comic books get made. They're seeing movies get made from comic book material. But there's still something that's really chic and cool about knowing your comics from the comics.
Right.
And if people kind of like anything you're interested, like if you're into music, right, and you like the Beatles or whatever, there's nothing like listening to the Beatles on vinyl and knowing something about the album and how it was made, Right. So like the more you get into something and the deeper you get into it, and people have disposable income, $20 is not that big of a deal, to people with a job and disposable income. Let's spend $20 on a meal out. Let's spend $20 on a night at the movies. That's not a big deal.
Yeah.
So the price, people need to sort of like forget about the price point and what it represents. They need to understand what the price point represents. It represents the whole experience. And then when people start catching on to crowdfunding and what it is, it could be a lot bigger. It could be a sustainable business model for a long time. Not sure about that yet, but it could be.
Yeah.
Well, I would add, or I would say that I think you're correct, but I also would say that it's also going to take some cooperation from the creators who use crowdfunding. Like, you won't be able to sustain the model of where you start a crowdfunder and you're consistently behind the 8 ball, right? You're consistently, you have this deadline or you have this delivery date, and you're constantly 2, 3, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months later. I mean, your first crowdfunder or whatever, it's understandable, but I think that the creators are going to have to learn that I'm going to have to be more timely, or I'm going to have to be timely with it. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just my thought and my opinion. I could be totally wrong.
I think you're right.
But I think it's sustainable if you get into a regular process, right? If people contributing know that, okay, Macho and Mutt, they're reliable. They did a campaign. The book came out. It's fantastic. They did another one. It came out. It's fantastic. But if Joe Blow gets on crowdfunder and says, I want to put out my book that I've been working on for years and years and years, and they raise enough money, and then 2.5 years later, no books come out. I mean, I don't think they're going to be able to do another successful crowdfunder, I guess.
Right.
This is the kind of things I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But and it's like what Cody said earlier. I don't know if crowdfunding is the only avenue for indie creators. It definitely right now is a good one because it helps you raise the money that you need to produce a book and stuff. It helps you pay an artist, or it helps you pay writers or get the book printed.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely curious to see what happens in 2020, especially with the indie market. I think 2019, it got stronger with a lot of good creators and a lot of good content, a lot of good books. And I hope it just keeps getting better and better. Paved the road for me when I have my campaign again.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
See how selfish that is? I'm a pretty selfish guy, by the way. But well, I mean, we've been on for about an hour and 40 minutes now. I'm sure you guys are getting tired, and we went over the hour. Is there anything you guys want to say? Advice to anybody with crowdfunding? Talk about a project. Just give your overall thoughts about how the Dallas Cowboys sucked it up big time. And
Yikes.
I'm a Cowboy fan. I'm sorry, I had to throw the sports in. I'm a football fan. But anyways, all jokes aside, you guys got anything you want to?
I just want to say,
shop with?
Yeah, I want to just say that Shinobi Sasquatch is still in demand. It's definitely one of the most anticipated books of all time.
Yeah.
I mean, you just need. If you don't experience this book, you'll never want to buy another comic book after this book. So you better get in on it. It's the Watchmen, it's the Dark Knight. Just don't miss it. It's something else.
I got in on that on day one. Got in on that.
You're hype, man.
Thank you, guys.
No, it looks like it's going to be a very good book, and so I'm happy that you raised as much as you did, and hopefully it'll keep going.
Yeah,
I think you guys deserve it. So, and I'm happy for you guys, Mutt and Macho. Second time around you done well. You done great, and looking forward to that as well. And of course, Jack, Cody, and Jack Iron. I love that book since I read the little 10. Was it 10 pages, Cody?
No, sir. I released a full issue, 24 pages in black and white.
No, I know that, but didn't you give away the first 10 pages or something?
No. Well, I mean, it's free to read online on Tapas. I might have shared it with you.
On Tapas, maybe.
Yeah, with the whole book up.
Yeah.
It's just black and white.
But I really, really love that book. I think you guys could tell because of all the fan art I drew for him. So yeah, I think you guys are killing it, and I wish I could have got more creators on this chat. But Jesus, I mean, look how much trouble I had with 4
You got the ones that matter, buddy.
That's right. That's right.
Nate was supposed to join us. Nate Lindley from Ashcan.
Yeah.
Oh, that'll be good.
I wanted to get his input because he didn't go the crowdfunding route. He went the Patreon route, right?
Yeah, that's right.
With the
he's
sub
great.
and stuff.
He'd be able to hear us all, but he wouldn't be able to speak. That'd be the problem with this.
Probably.
Hey, speaking of Patreon, do you mind if I plug my Patreon real quick?
No,
Yeah.
Go ahead, dude.
Okay. I'm talking to a comics crowd, so I'm not expecting much, but I started a Patreon, and what I'm doing is every month I'm doing a free short story. Well, not free, but because you're paying. It's $3 a month, you guys. $3 a month. You get a short story that will be either set with Shinobi Sasquatch's world or one of my other comics. December was the origin of Bo the vampire. He was a huge hit, and so I know people want to know who he is and how he got to be how he is. It's a fun story. It's a Christmas story, and it's bloody and it's full of awesome stuff. And it's awesome. I think it's less than 3,000 words. I'm not sure. Short story. And then I think it's like $6 a month, and you get a chapter of a novel because I have a novel written that I'm rewriting now, and I have one called My Cannibal Bromance, which is the name happened by accident. It was actually about 2 guys who are best friends, and then there's cannibal stuff that happens. And it's total comedy and it's fun. But no, I posted in November was the prologue, and then December was the first chapter. I'm going to keep posting chapters, and the reason I'm doing it is not to make money because you can't get rich on Patreon at $3 a person, but it pushes me to write. Like I said earlier, I have 2 patrons and I'm writing for them. So but if you guys want to check out Shinobi Sasquatch, that universe in a different light without pictures, come and check out my Patreon page. My pinned tweet, I think, is a shilling for that. So come check it out. Realize you're not making me rich, but you're giving me more reason to write. So yeah, check it out.
Cool. Yeah, definitely go check him out. Go check out his Patreon.
Be my third patron.
Sweet. And Cross Comics. I will join anytime having a stream, Bruce. Appreciate that, Cross. Definitely appreciate it. Love having you here. If you got any questions for these guys, now's the time to fire them off because I think we're winding down. And look at there, there's Nasser. Hey, Nasser, buddy. How's it going, man? Good seeing you, bud. Glad you could come check this out.
Yeah, I'm excited for. I'll tag onto what Cal was saying. I'm excited for 2020 and getting starting on Hero Volume 2, but getting Hero Volume 1 out. And I did quickly want to say, I don't know if Trusty's still listening, but it's been almost a year, and I won this contest, this like on the fly writing contest from Tyler Carpenter's channel, and I won seed money to do like this 2-page book, and I somehow conned Trusty. It's 2 pages, front and back of 2 pages, so it's really 4 pages. I conned him into doing 4 pages for me.
Oh, cool!
But he's doing 4 pages. This short story based on the pitch I wrote in 2 minutes for this contest. That anyway, so that's going to come out sometime soon.
Dude, give him the pitch, man.
Yeah.
All right, I gotta pull it up. I can't remember.
Just do the 10-second version. All
right. When the zombie apocalypse happened, Ted always thought it would be a mutated virus or a street drug gone wrong. The downfall of the human race started from a bad batch of baloney, and it's all Ted's fault. So that is what I wrote in about. And it was like 2 or 3 minutes he gave us. Anyway, so I won this contest, and so you're gonna get the first 2 pages, 4 pages of this comic, and so Trusty's doing it for me, and he has sent me 3 of the 4 page layouts, penciled layouts, and it's a classic Trusty style, and it's beautiful, and it's going to be really, really pretty cool. So words aren't on it or anything yet, but it's going to be exciting. It's going to be pretty cool. And then also there's a guy on Twitter. He's a follower of mine. I've been talking to him. It's Eric WC, but it's not like Eric War Campaign. It's Eric W.
I know that.
Sharman. Yeah. So great guy. And so he just hit me up recently, and we're talking, and we talked about our mutual love of the famous X-Men X-Force character Cable.
Yeah.
And Mutt's gonna shake his head right now. Anyway,
Here you go, Nasser.
So just before anybody says anything. Anyway, he was like, hey, we should just do like a quick thing. So for fun, we're just putting something out. He wants to practice doing sequential art, and it's art. Like I'm telling you, he's an MVP of art over the last year. Like if you look at his stuff from beginning of last year to now, it's pretty cool. Anyway, we're just doing this fun little thing. So I'm excited about that too. And both of those are going to be free, and just to keep my creative juices flowing. And I bombard Cal every couple of weeks or months with like I usually send it to Mutt, and he's like, "Shut up, Macho," and then I'll send it to Cal. Cal's nicer than Mutt, so I'm just playing. So yeah. Anyway, so I'm excited for that stuff in 2020 to put it out and let people read.
Nice. Cody or Mutt, you want to close up with something?
Go ahead, Cody.
All right. Well, I'm Cody with Ironverse Comics. I'm trying to make the best of the Weird Space West. Way you can help us do that is you can sub to our YouTube, Ironverse Comics. Just go ahead and look that up. You can join our Patreon. Once again, Ironverse Comics. Just go ahead and Google that. You can check us out on Twitter. That's my most, if you want to engage with me, that's the closest and most apt place to do it. That would be Cowboy_Steel. And please, I'm looking for a campaign for Jack Irons, Steel Cowboy #3, and I hope you folks will too. And we got our pre-launch page up, and if you guys want to sign up for the mailing list, it's always a big help. The more people we can front load into our campaign, the better. The less I'll have to worry down the line towards the end. And really, I'm just excited to talk with you guys about, to have been talking with you guys all day, and I really appreciate the camaraderie and the experience shared.
Well, thanks for coming on, Cody. I appreciate it, man. And Cody has a YouTube channel as well, where he just does some fun little things and plays games, talks about stuff. You guys should check that out sometime too.
Please do. Ironverse Comics.
Yep. All right, but let's see here. Where'd Macho go? What'd he do?
I'm here. Everybody keeps saying I'm echoing, so I tried to kill my video and get some more bandwidth.
Let's see if I can do this. You killed my little graphic I had for you. Look at there. It's blank now. That's okay. We're almost done anyway. So
now we can see that sweet art. That's a lot better than looking at Macho.
Did you like how I did that? Self-promoting. I put a little piece up for every one of you guys that I did.
So good.
Fantastic. I love it.
So anyway,
I put my link. If you don't mind, I put my links in the chat. I got that link tree thing, so that's got all my links in there. You can get a first 16 pages of our story, a free download for H.I.R.O. Just by signing up for our little newsletter, and we will not bombard you with any kind of email other than the most incredibly cool and awesome content you've ever read. So you'll definitely want to get in on that anyway, and you get 16 pages. So go and do that on my link tree, and sub my channel. And we're busy in creation mode. We're not in marketing mode right now. We're in creation mode. So it's a lot less, time on social media and YouTube and stuff like that. We'll start picking up as I start coming out of the drawing phase so much. We'll start picking up on more channel shows and things like that. But go ahead and sub.
Yeah. Very cool. Oh, hey, Dillard Draws. How you doing, man? I appreciate you coming
Dillard?
Dillard's in here busting chops.
That's okay.
Full in the China shop.
We deserve it. So.
Oh man.
We had some issues earlier on, Dillard, using this Go Light stream. It appeared to be good, but there's some little quirky things going on. So I don't know. I might have to look at something else. But yeah. So in closing, I guess I could tell you if you guys are interested what I have planned for 2020. Like I mentioned earlier, I want to do the rec. It's going to be the full story. It's going to be 80-page, perfect bind graphic novel. When I put it back up to offer it or re-offer it for Crowdfunder, I'll do that. I'm going to have a lot of little extras to go with it, stretch goals and different tiers and stuff. I don't plan on seriously doing it though until I get 1,000 followers on Twitter. Just because I have this strange thing in my head that the more followers I have, the better my 10% will be of the 1,000 followers. I'll have, maybe 100 people that want to look at it. But that's one thing. I'm also working on I've been working on it for a couple months now. It's a board game design. So I'm going to have to reach out to some writers because I'm going to need some fluff for the game. So yeah, there you go. But yeah, when I'm ready for that, I'll definitely reach out to some folks and see if they'd be interested in doing that. And then I've also got I know I've talked about this a bazillion times, and I feel bad because I'm working on it with my buddy John LaChase, who wrote a fantastic story. It's called Go to Hell. It's a love story, believe it or not. But there's a lot of action that goes on in hell and in heaven at the same time. But I told him I would do it, and I've worked on concept art for it, got all that done. But we need to get it done. But he told me, no, do your stuff first, do your stuff. And so I want to have that come out in 2020 as well. And then the very last thing is stuff that I'm doing with Cody for the Ironverse. I think, is that part of the Ironverse, Cody?
Oh, yes, indeed, sir. It's going to be the main part taking place in Asia. Going to be mutant ninjas. Going to be how would I phrase this? A monk with Alzheimer's, basically. That's what I'm going to start.
Right.
Now,
I just think a disco monk for some reason, but
it is Disco Monk.
Disco monk. There you go.
But Disco Monk with Alzheimer's, so he still thinks he's 20.
Right.
It's going to be pretty fun.
Right. So I'm working on
all
that.
Powerful, kind of more of a gag to it, a little bit more joke. It's going to lean more to the the spiritual aspects of Ironverse comics. Jack deals with philosophical bits. Coyote deals with universe bits. They all have kind of a niche.
Right. So that's all I've got going on. It was a pleasure to have you guys on and talk to you all again. I know I've had you on before, and I really had a good time talking to you guys. And so I kind of wanted to relive that to start off 2020, get the good vibes going, you know. So hopefully some people will get some good information out of this about crowdfunding, about indie comics in general. Appreciate all the people that were in the chat, came out, and anybody that watches it later, I appreciate that as well. And if you guys want to just hang out a couple minutes after I close the stream, I would appreciate it. So, last chance in the chat to ask any of these guys questions before we close it up.
The goal tonight is to get Bruce 250 more followers, so he'll have to put the rack out.
Yeah, let's do it.
That's my goal. I'm gonna put a tweet out after this, and I'm gonna request everyone to follow Bruce so that the rack has to come out.
Sweet. Yeah, and then I'll make the announcement, and then I'll see you've been unfollowed by 250 people.
No, it's gonna be awesome. We're gonna get it.
Hey, just on the positivity note, I'd like to say one more thing before we leave.
Yeah.
I think that more creators need to be a bit more savvy on who they engage with in arguments and how they handle themselves when it comes to the negative spin of stuff. I just like to see a lot more professionalism from some of these guys that are currently here and are coming in. I'm a fan as well as a creator, and I can just say for myself, from a fan standpoint, some of this nonsense and negativity and going back and forth about all this stuff just gets so old and it's so boring, and it's not making comics. It's not fun. It's not engaging me to want to buy anything. And I just think that people just need to kind of take a break on that stuff, and they just need to like say to themselves, what would I like to buy? I'm going to spend my money on that, and I don't really care who in the world cares about that. It's my money, and I'll spend it on what I want. And stop worrying about who likes who, who's mad at whose opinion differs from. You know, like if you really look down the line, a lot of these guys that are fighting so bad, they probably agree on about 95% of everything that's important. Mm-hmm. And so I think as creators, we just need to do a little bit more influx of professionalism, and let's kind of show them how it's done.
Have you guys seen the new guy meme?
No.
Yeah, I've seen the new guy. Yeah, I haven't. I don't understand it yet.
Okay, so real quick, this goes with the positivity thing. So a purple-haired SJW cartoon drawer did a comic where she drew. She basically goes into work and there's a guy standing there and he's got new guy. His name tag says new guy. And she says to him, "Hey, did you hear that like millionaire gamer douche bro got robbed?" You know, she's kind of like celebrating basically PewDiePie getting robbed. Yeah. And the guy says to her, new guy says to her, "Well, how would you feel if you got robbed?" And she goes, "I could tell you and I are going to be really good friends." And he goes, "Oh, really?" And she goes, "Not a chance in hell," or something like that. But what happened was this I had to look this up this morning because it was all through my feed. What happened was all this response of people going, "Hey, the chick who's the star of this comic sucks, but that new guy, this throwaway character she made up, is awesome. He's just pure positivity." And it really got me thinking the same thing, Mutt, that you were talking about. Like so much of the conflict is peripheral. It's just it's little crap that people disagree on. Like, who cares? You know, we agree on so much. Yeah. We just want to make good comics. Most of us have very similar values. Yeah. There's just little squabbles happening. And so I want to channel the spirit of new guy. It's really cool that this happened on the second day of the new year because we can all go through 2020 trying to make new guy proud
as the new guy.
We're all the new man.
We're all new guys.
Biblical
or new
reference.
People.
No, I think it's more about what you. I think on the creator side of things, for me, it's more about what I don't say than what I do say. Mm-hmm. It's more about just not scratching that itch, so to speak.
Yep. Yeah.
You know.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. I agree with you completely. sometimes it just gets tiresome. No matter what your argument is, what side you're on, or whatever, it just like, I just want to, I just want to make comics. I want to draw some art. I want people to like what I do. I want to entertain people. And, I know it sounds trite and I know it sounds cliche, but I mean, I don't know. There's no other way to say it. It's just that I like to draw. I like to share what I draw with people, and I would like for I would want people to like what I draw. That's really all I'm going for. So, I agree with you completely. I think if we can get past this little thing, I think the indie market, especially the small press ones. See, I'm going to coin that phrase, small press indie, because you have different tiers of indie, right? You have the big guys that we know making $500,000, $1 million on their projects. And then you got guys in the middle, like Cal here and Von Claus and people like that. And then you got, a little bit lower than that who are making what they want to make and stuff, like you guys and like Cody and stuff. And I think we could all, because just think about all the cool things you could do if we could all just, I don't know, share our experiences and share our knowledge about what we learned, what not to do, what might be a better way for you, and what might not be, or just little things like that. Who do you get your books printed with? Do you get a good deal, right? You don't know how long I've waited, a whole year ever since my project, just to hear somebody say, well, I went with this printer and they gave me a pretty good deal, and, or this is how I handled shipping. And I think this is what you could do too, or, just stuff like that. Little things like that could really help this little industry. So, but again, thanks guys for coming on. I appreciate it. Thanks for everybody that came in and participated and listened. You got anything? Had something to say? Share the video, hit the like button, subscribe if you want. I've got 70 now. I gained 1 subscriber. Just because of this video. So that's pretty awesome. So you see, you guys are already helping me out in the new year. Appreciate that. So
Dillard has a question.
Oh yeah, Dillard, go.
I've got an answer for it. The answer for Dillard's question is, he says, hey, new guys, Canadian Shield or Canadian Buckler? And my answer is whatever Rick likes, that's the answer.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
I agree with Rick.
Okay. This must be totally over my head because I'm not.
These guys go back and forth on lots of funny.
Okay.
Yeah, Rick is the creator of the Canadian Shield, I believe.
Okay.
And then I think that Dillard Draws is helping with the artwork in some capacity.
Well, he says answer correctly and he will subscribe.
I did, so he should subscribe.
Right. I think the most important question is, I asked this earlier on Twitter, niche or niche?
Oh, yeah. I say niche, but I saw that you say niche. I think they're both fine.
No, if you're from the South, it's niche. If you're from the North or borders
England.
beyond, it's niche.
Right. No, I it's not a big deal. I'm just playing around. But anyways.
I will unfollow you if you say niche.
Damn it. I was afraid that was going to happen. That's why I don't like to say anything. I'm just going to draw pictures of women because that gets the most clout on Twitter.
Oh, man.
It does.
Yeah,
all my women pictures got the most traffic, the most. The analyticals on them are through the roof. I draw a picture of freaking Bjorn from the wreck, and it's like crickets, dude. So whatever.
Keep at it, baby.
Something
Just
I gotta
keep
work
at
through. Yeah, something
Keep
I gotta
chopping
work
that wood, man.
Yeah,
it's a rough, first world country problem I have. So, all right, fellas. Well, appreciate it. Thank you very much for coming on. If you can hang out just for a second after we get done, and like I said, Dillard says Buckler. Send it, you fools. So I don't know. I guess you got it right. So thanks, chat, for coming and hanging with us. I appreciate it. I know we ran long. But if you guys want to see more of these type of discussions, just let me know. I'd really like to get a lot more people on. It's just hard with this crazy software. So maybe it's not. It's just my crazy inability to understand it. Maybe that's what it is. So, anyways, thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Everybody have a good one. Have a good 2020 if you never come back. But I'm hoping you come back. So, later.